Howdy, welcome to the Watchman News. So I have talked recently about vaping and in my opinion the importance of vaping in SHTF if you partake in nicotine and want to continue partaking in nicotine. Vaping is to me the clear obvious choice, and I was telling you folks about how I rebuild my own coils, my own wicks, my own, I rebuild the pods and stuff. So I'm going to make a video of redoing a pod for I don't know if it's a Boulder. I can't remember the other name of it, but I'll put it down in the description. I'll put the device that I'm talking about. Anywho, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild this, and I already did up coils last night. This is what they call a micro coil. I'll try to hold it up there for you. Let me I don't know how I'm going to be able to get it to focus on that tiny little bugger though. It might be focusing on it. I can't tell in my phone screen if it is or not, but that is called a micro coil. That coil is a 2mm coil. So again, tiny. I'll try to hold it cross section for you. I don't know if you can tell at all. I'm trying to hold it over different lighted things so that probably the dark you can probably see best, but tiny coil, right? So I made those up already, and I'm using 32 gauge nichrome 60 wire. So that's the wire that I am using. I did take my little torch, and I did heat the wire up, make it red hot before I made the coil. So I just wanted to add that. If you do not know, when you're dealing with like nichrome wire, if you heat it up red hot, cherry red hot, before you wrap your coil will stay wrapped much better. When you heat it up, it makes the wire less springy, and so it'll hold its shape a lot better. So if you didn't know that about nichrome, now you do. So we got our housing here, and what I like to do, there's a couple of rubber grommets down in there. I'm going to do my best to make sure you guys see this stuff, but there's a couple of little rubber grommets inside of there, and honestly it's better to leave them in and fight getting the wires through the little hole than what it is to try to fight getting that grommet back in place right. So better off to just work a little harder in the first place. I'm going to try to stay kind of centered on the camera here, and I'm going to, when I edit, I'm probably going to zoom in some. And it does take me a little bit because that's an awful tiny hole. And you can't see it super clearly because you're looking at it through plastic. And so it can be a booger. Also, I want to note real quick, you notice how one side of my wire on my coil is a lot longer than the other? That is for a reason. That is so that I can start one and have plenty of room to be able to play around back and forth with the other without having to worry about the one I already got in. So that is why. Hang on. One of those jobs where you got to hold your mouth just right and stand on one foot kind of thing. I'll try doing it down from the top, but I usually don't do any better that way. Actually, I am getting a better. Yeah, but it's the whole depth thing. You can't tell at all when you do it from the top. Yeah. Hang on. Bear with me. I'm going to shut my yapping, and I'll speed up the video until I've got these wires in. So I'll shut up my yapping, and I'll speed up the video and throw a little music in for you. How's that sound? Wow, what the heck was that, Watchman? You just kind of worked, and then now we're here, and it's all confusing and stuff. I went and got my my headlamp because my biggest problem is I can't see, yo. And so I wanted to get a little more light on the subject. Now this won't help for video purposes, but it will help me get these damn wires in these tiny little holes. And see how quick I already got one? I didn't have enough light with just those studio lights on for the camera, because they're actually turned down all the way, so don't have such a big glare on the table like I'm blinding you with now. It won't take me but a second now because I can see. Yeah, I got it. So I've got both wires through. Now what I'm going to do is get rid of this light because I know it's making it impossible for you to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to go ahead and get me my wick out. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut me off a hunk of wick, right? I'm going to make sure to try to get a nice, clean, straight cut. That's going to be important, and it's almost impossible to do, to be honest. This is silica wick, by the way, 2mm silica wick. And then what I do is I go ahead and just lick my fingers and wet the one side and go ahead and give it a twist. That way it's nice and pointed, and it's a lot easier to get started in that little bitty coil. And so you want to take, I hold my fingers on the bottom coil and I hold pressure up against those rubber grommets, and that will help it from slipping back out while you're putting your wick in. And the twisting motion helps tremendously. This wick may not go. I may have to throw that away. Yeah, I'm going to have to throw this one away. And the reason why is because it's all buggered up. I buggered it up. These scissors kind of suck. Skizzers. But to be honest, I mean, our other ones really aren't any sharper. And I don't know why. The silica wick is just such a pain in the ass to cut. And now that's a pretty decent cut on that side, so I shouldn't have a problem. I'm going to make sure I got plenty enough there. And you see how it kind of whipped around, and yeah, see, that ain't even good because the way it did it. That sucks. Okay, let's try it again. I hate dealing with silica wick, and there's probably better ways to deal with it. I don't work with silica wick normally, so I don't know a lot about its tendencies, or I imagine I could wet it. I'm trying to get that little burr off of there. I imagine I could wet it and be no sweat, but really don't want to wet it because then there we go. There we go. You just chop at it a few thousand times and you'll be fine. This time I'm going to take and I'm going to hold that like that to make sure that I got plenty. Alright, let's try this again. I know I'm making a mess. It's normally this hard, but you know, when you're doing a video, it's of course going to be as hard as it can possibly be for you. So, this looks good here. I'm going to do what I did a while ago. I'm going to lick my fingers a little bit just to get that wet so I can get it through that coil easier. And see what I'm doing? I'm unraveling it. Wow, I had something good going and I destroyed it. Imagine that. Hang on, I'll fix it. Yeah, it'd totally mess you up if you if you untwist the coil. Don't untwist the coil. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Just gonna get in there. I'm gonna give it a little twisty. See that? Just kind of easing it in there because there was one that was caught. So you see that? We are now in there and good. So I'm going to make sure that both our wires are still protruding out, which they are. And I'm going to take this side here and I'm just going to do a quick chop. Okay? And I'm going to come over here to the other side. I'm going to check my length. And once again, quick chop. Okay? Try to get it as clean and quick as you can. Now, I'm just going to take and pull that wick and coil down into the housing. and there's going to be some grooves that it will sit down in there in. So I'm going to take my precision screwdriver here, kind of turn that. I want to make sure I'm not twisted. Uh-oh. I think I'm twisted. Hang on. Hang on. Hold the phone. Let me make sure. See, the low light is giving me hell because my eyes aren't that great anymore. And it is playing fits with me. Okay, I think... Wait a minute. Yeah, that's good there. Sorry, I had to hold it up to the natural light, the window and the door, so that I could see what was going on, because yeah, I'm telling you that's twisted. Hang on. Let me get it down in there and see if it straightens. Yeah, that's it, that's it. Sorry for all the messing up. These things are so hard to work with because they're so tiny. And then the only other thing with this, when you re-wick these, as far as the difference in use, is because of all the extra wick in there, it's a little harder to get the juice in there. So what I have to do is I use my syringe with my blunt tip needle, and I use it to push it in there. So hang on. What I'm doing is I'm taking the screwdriver here and I'm trying to get that all in that housing, and I actually need something that's a little bit broader tipped than that. I'm going to grab a regular pocket screwdriver here. I'm just trying to make sure there's a housing there, and that housing has a recess in it for the wick to go through, and I'm just making sure that that wick is going through that recess properly, because if you don't have that right, you will have leaking problems and possibly other issues, wicking problems as well. So all I'm doing is kind of just playing around with it, trying to get that coil and the wick in exactly where I want it. And I think I'm actually about as close as I'm gonna get. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab the top cap, and before we do that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bend those over. I pulled just enough pressure to make sure that I had that coil where I wanted it. And so I bent my wires over, and then I've got two contacts. Let me get rid of that extra wick there. I've got two tiny little bitty pins here, and they're going to go in the rubber grommets up against the wire, because that's how they make contact to the wire. Okay, there's one of them in. There's the second one in. Now we can actually go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to pull our wires up like that, and I got a little pair of snips here. So what I'm going to do is, as closely as I can, I'm going to snip off those excess wires. Just like that. And then there's usually like a little stub. If there is, you just kind of push it down. Push it down. Now, all you have to do is don't forget about this little rubber piece here. That is very important. And you lay the rubber piece where it goes, just like that. Okay. And then these will only, they will only go on one way. So this one will go on this way right here. So you just simply just put it together and push. There you go. That is a rebuilt Boulder pod. So we'll do a real quick check on it and make sure that we got our coil in an acceptable range. Yeah, my dusty multimeter here. I'm like anal about putting everything up like it should be. Wait a minute. Yep. Making sure the right two. Come on, get in there. Alright, we're already on the right setting. Double check our connection there. That looks good. Oh, you guys might want to see. Let's pop up a little bit if I can get it up. There you go. Should be able to see that good, right? Alright. What does our coil read? 2.0 ohms. Well, I would say we did a pretty good job, yo. That works. And then the only thing left that goes into that is you got your little cap for once you put your juice in it. Put your cap in it so you don't leak your juice out. And little bugger. There we go. Little cap in there. And that is a, like I say, a completed rebuilt pod running at 2 ohms, which seems to be right about a good number for these little Boulder units. So anyway, if you got one of these or planning on getting one of these, this is why I like that little thing, is because I can rebuild it. So it just, to me, that means the world. If I can rebuild it, then I don't have to keep paying somebody else over and over and over for shit that I'm just going to throw away in a week. You know what I mean? So I would much prefer grabbing some of the proper wick, some of the proper wire. You know, you don't have to, you could have used a 2mm, anything 2mm rod. You could use the 2mm precision screwdriver in your set. You can use that and wrap the coil around that. You do not have to have a special coil wrapping tool, but they're nice, you know, they are nice. So anyway, I hope that I could learn you something, and I hope you have a great day. Shalom.